Hi, folks. This is Richard Ricky Garcia, and as part of our effort for the Skywriters Making a Difference campaign, I thought it would be fun to reminisce, record, and share stories from our drum corps days. I'm joined by Chris Magonigal, who marched Skywriters in 1992 and 1993. Chris is also the founder and CEO of Genesis Drum and Bugle Corps from Austin, Texas. Chris is going to tell us a little bit about how his Skywriters experience influenced the founding of Genesis. Chris.
Thanks, Rich. If I had to sum it into a word, it's everything. It was the only reason in marching Skywriters that I was exposed to an activity that changed my life and changed my world. And from the time that the Skywriters left my life, I've been on a journey and dedicated to starting a drum corps in Texas. I was so prideful of it. That's been my life's goal. And you talk to anybody in my college days, they'll tell you, if you went up to Chris and say, hey, what are you going to do with your life? I would tell them I'm going to start a drum corps in the state of Texas. Because it was so influential. I do remember when we were the early days of talking about starting Genesis, I wanted to bring the Skywriters name back. That was actually my goal. And it just didn't happen for a variety of reasons at that time. We went through the process of starting a new brand and doing all of that. And when we started it in the Valley, a very underserved community, it was awesome to be able to bring that Skywriters name and influence along with me. Because that was a struggle.
Just want to interrupt for those who don't know, the Valley, that's the nickname we use for the Rio Grande Valley.
Correct.
Which is the bottom southern tip of Texas.
Yeah, it's a 50-mile radius of Texas from Brownsville over to Rio Grande City, and
right on the Rio Grande River bordering Mexico.
Correct.
It's a very remote area of the country.
Yes. It's a very remote area for Texas.
Yes.
So when we started the group and the biggest thing I take away, there was a lot of positives from when I marched the Skywriters. Obviously, it changed my life. It gave me a sense of direction. It gave me a sense of purpose. It put me on a path that I would not have been on had I not discovered it. And I think it was the same for the kids in this community. We were able to bring something that a lot of them had only seen on video. We were able to introduce them to a name they'd never heard of before with the Skywriters. And early on, that's how we really established what was going on. Is I would show them these videos and things from the Skywriters, and we would talk about the influence of rainbow on my life. Somewhere Over the Rainbow is it when it comes on, and I think you probably feel the same way, as do many other people that are part of the Skywriters community. It just triggers just happiness, and so to be able to share that with kids and have them have a new meaning to a song, and I think we talked about it earlier. Genesis has done The Wizard of Oz in some shape or form 3 times now, and we'll probably never, ever do it again. But it is such an ingrained part of our history now that it can't go away. And that is all due to the Skywriters. Some people I was accused early on of like, Chris, stop bringing the Skywriters back. This is a new thing. Like, I get it, man. But, it was such an impact on my life that it was the only reason Genesis was born.
I think what I want to add to that is thank you for founding Genesis and for founding it in the Rio Grande Valley. And I think you also said you have scholarships for kids that come from that area as well.
We do, yeah. We provide as much assistance as we possibly can for the RGV kids,
which is fantastic. And the reason that's important to me personally is when I look back at my life and I look at the inflection point, where my trajectory changed. It was the 81, 82 Skywriters. And I was from that area of the country. And suddenly I was thrust. Dale Antoine actually talked about this. This was his favorite part about being a director, seeing kids being thrown into situations that they had never been in. And specifically kids being made to work with kids of different sexual orientations, of different races, of different beliefs, of different religions, and they all had to figure out a way to work together.
Right.
And that, when I look at that, that was by far the best thing that happened to me at that age.
It's the best part of my job.
And so thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this in this underserved part of the country, and making it easier for these kids as well. But
and I think I told you, like, when we first started, and that very first season was crazy, because even inside that community of people, we opened the doors to different walks of life and kids who were not necessarily accepted in their community.
Yeah.
And it is a very sheltered community at times. It's grown a lot. It's wonderful now. I like going down to the valley, but we had kids that came through the door that, again, different sexual orientations, not just the different kids of that community had a place to go and mix with kids who were like, wow, you live right down the street from me, and I had no idea about your walk of life or your journey. And to be able to share all of that in that community with those kids, like I said, out of the 65 kids that we had, 63 of them were all from the Rio Grande Valley community. And so, it was one of the coolest things of that first season. I miss it. That first season, and being able to provide that for those kids, that's the thing I miss the most.
It's incredible. And I think one of the reasons that we all love the Skyryders is because it all changed our lives.
Yep.
And for the better.
Yep.
And so to hear that you took that experience and took it a step further by creating your own drum and bugle corps, which is going to further compound that. I again, bravissimo.
I appreciate it. And it's funny, the guys that are still involved, and up until last season, 50% of our staff all came from the Valley. We've made some changes, but our executive team, most all of us, I don't claim that I'm from the Valley, but the executive team, most of them are from the Valley, and we still have kids involved that they're not kids anymore. We've been around for this is going on year 15, but they are involved in the drum corps, and same thing, just the tie to the Valley and how it kind of changed their trajectory. That's what drum corps does. No matter how big it gets, no matter how many millions of dollars get put on a football field, and we can go on in days for that, but fundamentally it changes kids' lives for the better.
And what I love about this is all because of something that happened in the 1950s in Hutchinson, Kansas. That's where it started. And then here you are, here I am. And we're talking about, there's this thing called, it's the ripple effect, right?
Right.
The ripple effect. And I wish people in the 50s would have had the ability to look forward in time and to see the ripple effect of what they were doing back then, because they would be astounded. They'd be astounded. When I marched in 81, there was someone from England marching the Skyryders. So it went that far.
Right.
And I think at a certain point that there may have been Asians that marched as well. I don't know. I'll have to get that confirmed.
Yeah, we've had a few in our corps, and I know when I was working with a corps in San Antonio for a while, we had a large Asian contingent. But it's funny, you say how, astounded they would be, and half of them would probably be appalled too at what drum corps has become, right? But that's a story for another day. But I can't. The influence is deep, and the influence is deep with a lot of us. And I'm really excited to be able to share this story with you guys and with you, because I don't feel like I've been connected to the Skyryders as much as I should be. It's hard. We talked about the disconnect between the Hutchinson contingent and the Texas contingent, which shouldn't really exist there, because a lot of the kids that went to Hutchinson were from Texas. But I think it really just comes from the fact that it was only here for a very short time.
Yeah.
And that was the influence that was the biggest thing. Was it was there for a very short time, and I loved it. And a lot of us had so much pride in what we were doing, and then it was snuffed out. And it just leaves you with this what's next mentality, right? How can I utilize this in my life? And so, yeah, it's a ripple effect from the 50s. It's a ripple effect from the move to Texas and so on. I do hope more individuals that were involved in 90, 91, 92, and 93 get involved with this new contingent, because bringing the name back and bringing a drum corps to Hutchinson and bringing the Skywriters back, makes my heart sing. It's really, really cool.
Awesome. Awesome. It has been amazing talking to you, Chris. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it, Rich.